Last couple of days, I've been pondering that verse about the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So I started with, okay, so what did the Hebrew mean with that fear, the reverence, the awe, the respect? And so I looked up what that Hebrew word meant. And it's the feeling you get in the gut of your stomach when something is like overwhelmingly exciting. And we have that experience when fear and excitement sort of like overlap. Like maybe if you were standing at the top of a mountain and you have that sense of exhilaration and awe, and it's like overpowering. And I was thinking like, okay, so when in my life have I felt that type of sensation of fearful awe? And one of the times I remembered was when I got the opportunity to drive my high school boyfriend's 1974 Mustang Mach 1. And pushing that gas pedal, I felt that gut feeling of exhilaration, like, wow, this car has power that is beyond, like, I didn't drive it very long. A few weeks ago, Mark's sister and brother-in-law also bought a Mustang, but this time it was a 2021 Mustang Mach-E. Mm. Yeah. So I'm feeling that same, he's like, you want to drive it? And I'm like, yeah. So first he drove it, and he like went to a stop sign and then just floored it and threw me back in my seat. Like, I'm like, this is an electric car. Mm. And so I'm asking all kinds of like, well, what about the exhaust system? And there's no, like, what about the oil? You don't have to change your oil? Like, there's no sound? Like, how do you hear? Like, I'm just like, like that. And then I finally got the chance to drive the car, and I was terrified. I have no idea how much this car costs. And I'm driving in Milwaukee, which is not a city super familiar to me. I drove it 5 minutes because I was just had that fear and awe of this machine that people had made. And so I'm like, that is the feeling of being in the presence of someone where you have that gut feeling of exhilaration and awe and fear of God. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, well, I think I get that part. But then I'm like, but why is that the beginning of wisdom? So I, looked at a bunch of commentaries, like, what's the connection between this awe, reverence, and fear of God, and why does that start wisdom? And I didn't, none of them made any sense to me. I'm like, nah, no, that's not really it. So I went to bed going, I don't know the connection. Why is this fear the beginning of wisdom? And then it hit me. I went back to my story of driving the Mach-E. And the awe and enthusiasm and exhilaration I felt brought to me all kinds of questions that I wanted to understand about this awe and reverence and enthusiasm I was feeling. And it also made me think about how the beginning of wisdom is the recognition of all the things I don't understand. And we know from other quotes that experts actually are the ones who realize how much they don't know. And when we're at a point where we feel like we already know it, we're actually just scratching the surface. And so that's how I see that wisdom, the fear of God, that awe, respect, and exhilaration helps us begin to understand who God is.
Amen.